George Orwell's 1984, the constant state of surveillance through telescreens shaped the character's mind with continuous propaganda and information, making it nearly impossible to have a conscience. The protagonist, Winston Smith, grows some conscious and rebellious thoughts towards the party, here in the form of telescreens. He thought of the telescreen with its never-sleeping ear. They could spy upon you night and day, but if you kept your head, you could still outwit them. With all their cleverness, they had never mastered the secret of finding out what another human being was thinking. The telescreen were important devices that the party used to watch people, making sure that they were following the system and not a threat. These telescreens-like objects appear today in China.
Its network of security cameras, some equipped with facial recognition, is constantly monitoring the streets. Facial recognition systems are also used to match people with their ID cards, everywhere from shopping malls to gas stations. Authorities use artificial intelligence that can alert them if someone in a video is walking too fast.
Chinese facial recognition has been on the rise for years, and Chinese government officials plan on investing more time and money on it. However, this concerns some Chinese residents worrying about the rise of facial recognition and their loss of privacy. Chinese facial recognition has increased significantly in the 21st century, and more companies are requiring facial recognition for everyday use. All Chinese mobile phone users and new SIM cards have to submit facial recognition scans. Users also have to use passport and driver license photos in SIM cards. In 1984, the cameras relate to the telescreens by slowly taking away our privacy till we are left with nothing except our thoughts. Perfectly depicted by Winston when he says, "Nothing was your own except a few cubic centimeters inside your skull." Orwell 27. Orwell described this to us to emphasize that we take our privacy for granted, and if we lose our privacy, we may never get it back. The instrument, the telescreen it was called, could be dimmed, but there is no way of shutting it off completely. Orwell 2. Technology official, Shenzhen-based AI firm IntelliFusion, says that it protects citizens from cybersecurity. However, some question this. In a survey by Beijing Research Institute, 74% of respondents say that they would prefer the traditional ID methods. The most common reason was because 6,152 respondents felt as if their private information would be hacked or leaked. These recognitions occur in schools, stations, and shopping centers. In 50 surveyed countries, China ranked the worst in extensively deploying biometric data. Another surveillance concern is the use of cameras in major cities to detect jaywalkers. Just as in 1984, the telescreen received and transmitted simultaneously. Orwell 3. Orwell warned us about the consequences of living in a world with no privacy, and here it occurs more than it has ever been. 57% of people in a survey recorded that they thought their movements are being tracked, and 84% want to see the surveillance videos and wish for it to be deleted on their command. China has the most facial recognition cameras of any country by a significant margin. Typical facial recognition in public places are seen on this image. In southern Chinese cities, facial recognition often appears at the end of crosswalks, which tracks someone who is illegally jaywalked, and they will get an instant fine on their phone, and their faces will be publicly displayed on a screen for embarrassment. There are more facial recognition methods used to track people who violate the road laws of Shanghai and Beijing, and even some officers wear high-tech glasses that identify a wanted criminal. Just last month, China put in new regulations making telecom users connect their face to their phones. China already exports their tech overseas to countries such as Myanmar and Argentina. However, in a few years, China's ZTE Corp could be delivering their facial recognition across the globe. In the airports, China already shows how ahead of the world they are with facial recognition. From purchasing your ticket to checking in and purchasing your food, This will work instantly with just a scan of your face. Daxing, a company that opened in September, is expected to scan 100 million passengers a year by 2040. Last October, the U.S. had placed 8 technology giants on a U.S. blacklist violation that accused the companies of violating human rights. The U.S. has also barred any purchase of these technology parts without U.S. permission. The Atlantic mentioned, start quote, "Imagine a society in which you are rated by the government on your trustworthiness. Your citizen score follows you wherever you go. A high score allows you to access faster internet service or a fast-track visa to Europe. If you make political posts online without a permit or question or contradict the government's official narrative on current events, however, your score decreases. To calculate your score, private companies working with your government constantly trawl through vast amounts of your social media and online shopping data." End quote. Quote from Anna Mitchell and Larry Diamond. According to them, this society in China would not be so far-fetched in a couple of years. This attributes to the fact that China has an estimated 200 million surveillance cameras, which is 4 times more than the United States. Under Xi Jinping, China's top leader, the expected surveillance cameras are supposed to jump up 100,000 within the next year. With all of these tech upgrades that Mr. Xi envisions, he hopes to be in rule longer than the Mao era. The purpose of this is to protect Chinese mobile phone users in cybersecurity. However, Mr. Xi's plans may concern Chinese citizens more. Last year, the Central Police Authority successfully identified 126,000 vehicles without a valid license. The facial recognition checks the faces and vehicles of a person to catch more wrongdoers in running a red light, for example. Shenzhen-based AI firm IntelliFusion has been helping police with traffic cameras since 2018. Wang Kongfei, a professor of engineering at a Chinese institute, does not completely approve of the Chinese government influence on technology. They are trying to push out the technology first and see if people can accept it. The cameras also detect student drivers to ensure that they have the practice before signing up for a driver's test. The only way to prevent this facial recognition trap is to abolish most facial recognition altogether. As Orwell warned us, privacy is a human attribute that once taken away will be very hard to get back. The loss of privacy in 1984 occurs from telescreens and constant surveillance. The society we live in replicates this dystopian society more than it has ever been, and if we want to keep our privacy, we must act before it is all gone. Infringements to the right of our privacy will go quick if not acted upon. These actions can consist of unaccepted protests and complaints, but as we see, China is at the very limit of a society where we can't turn back from privacy and surveillance. Thank you, and I've been George Colombo on facial recognition in China.